According to analytic philosophy, the only purpose of philosophy is to critically analyze the use of words, assuring that real life people, and particularly scientists and the sciences, use language both in terms of semantics and syntax in a clear, precise, and logical manner. They see philosophy as having this purpose because the conclusion is reached that the meaning of words are their use. However, there are problems with this concept of meaning. On the one hand, it makes all words depend on physical and social interaction, and thus it seems to negate the concept of a private language. You may think that when you use words such as mind, consciousness, pain, happiness, that you are describing an individual private world whose meaning only you know, but it appears you are not. What you are really describing are social, physical events. You may have pain, but it is not accurate to say that only you know the pain you are suffering. Pain is not a private word known only to your consciousness. It refers to observed acts such as screaming, grimacing, bleeding, and so forth, to which society has applied the word pain. So it appears for purposes of language, there is no such thing as a private language, nor is individual consciousness. On the other hand, the opposite problem is brought up by a famous illustration used by Wittgenstein in his writings called a duck rabbit. I have placed the illustration on the Sam Pebbles podcast Philosophy of Language webpage. The common expression is seeing is believing. Well, if you study this illustration critically, it seems to indicate that the exact opposite is true, that believing is seeing. If you look at the duck rabbit illustration and have at some point seen a duck but never a rabbit in your life, you will say you see a duck. If the opposite is true, you will say you see a rabbit. If you have seen both, you will see one and then the other, but never both at the same time. If you have never seen either a duck or a rabbit, whatever you say will not be the words duck or rabbit. In any case, the physical illustration does not change. The words and what you are seeing change, depending purely on individual interpretation of what the illustration appears to be, that is, purely on your own individual experience. And we are back to the truth or illusion podcast problem. Even for seeing or vision that is supposedly a direct view of reality, the words we choose to describe what we see do not depend on what we see, but on what our consciousness wants us to see. If the words and what you see are dependent on what is in the consciousness, how do we avoid solipsism? I will contemplate both these problems and the possible solutions to this philosophy of language problems in the next set of podcasts.